So this week's review is on the theme, the task, 54 days and counting, which is now significantly more. But anyway, it was nice to kind of set this for you to think about capturing kind of how your thoughts and feelings and what you've been doing have changed over the past many days, as it were. So the first Creative Remedy session online that we did, we were looking at what were you doing in lockdown, and it was all very new and very fresh. So a lot of those were kind of quite playful, quite colourful. And again, this week there's been some fantastic photos submitted. At the end of this, we'll just kind of have a quick scroll down through the actual photo pool so you can see some of the other ones, because again, I could have chosen loads for this, but just wanted to pick a few that kind of gave a bit of a variety of kind of feeling. So let's jump straight in with one from Steph, which is nice. So Steph took this, and things that would have initially been on this in terms of I love school, school rules, homeschool rules, has now been changed to homeschool sucks, and so that's an interesting indication in terms of capturing the kind of the attitude of, again, how when I said it was great at the start, and now kind of patience has been tested a bit more and attitudes have changed, obviously. So that's quite an interesting shot. We've got some homework underneath that as well, and I think the colours, again, kind of that back to school vibrancy, I think that works really well, and how well it brings out the colours on that. Nice composition as well, again with kind of things built up on the background. So I think that's a really nice shot, Steph. It's well thought and well executed. Paul, again, I'll show you some of others of Paul's. Paul's actually kind of composed some of his images to feature things that have been kind of maybe keeping him entertained, or it also kind of reflects a bit more of his kind of personality, so you get a kind of an idea of what Paul is into and what his hobbies are and what he's been doing, so that works really well. And I like this one purely because I think it's as there's another image in that, it's a little nod to some of the stuff that we probably, those of us that know Paul now, and since the exhibition of Not All Who Wander Are Lost at the museum started, this kind of came about because of Paul's love of kind of psychogeography and getting lost and travelling and looking differently at the landscape. So we've got the dice, which became synonymous with some of the stuff we did about leaving things to chance and journey. The device to capture or travel as well. This little kind of coaster, which is has got Skiddaw Mountains in the Lake District, and I think again the bits in there in terms of that composition, the more you look, the more you kind of see, and the more you know somebody, the more it draws out. So I think that's really clever, and that's, like I say, there were quite a few that had done that through his work. Paul's, again. So again, knowing Paul, he's a key worker, and this is kind of an interesting insight into maybe some of the stuff that people are having to kind of deal with on the front line that we're not maybe privy to, or we don't really kind of see. Things around kind of sterilisation and face masks, and he's kind of very cleverly just cropped this in, so we can't really see all of it, but we can see there that are for key workers, Paul Hazler's to be front line, and then there'll be some of the stuff in there. So again, that's kind of this is me, and this is what I'm kind of doing and going through at this current moment in time. And it's cropped in close, really nice. I like that, because we can start to kind of, I can see that's a face mask, and well, that's front line, so that's, oh yeah, I mean, that's safety, is that steriliser, or... So, clever again, making you kind of look in a bit more detail and think, and it's obviously very kind of pertinent to the time. So that was great. Another one by Steph. Steph had messaged in the week saying, and I thought this was a great idea actually, should I go back and look and maybe edit some of the initial photos that we submitted in the first week, which is a great idea. This photo 10 weeks or so ago was black and white, and Steph had said that this was that kind of, this was the resembling kind of lockdown, and it was a dark sky ahead, so it was a really nice image, a really reflective image, and I think now then changing the colour adds a completely other dimension. So even if you didn't see the original photo and you've seen this, you now get this idea of, well, there looks to be kind of I can see the light, but it's colour, and colour kind of then is that association with something being bright or happy or light. So that works fantastically well, and I actually think the contrast is a lot better than black and white, Steph. Just the way it's kind of drawn out the lights and darks in contrast into this central focal point of light. It's a really nice image, really nice image. You've done it with one or two again. When we scroll down, you'll see some of those again that have changed from black and white into colour, so that's quite symbolic. TC, Tony, it's nice to see you've posted up a few this week, sir. There was another one similar to this, but I liked this just because, well, first and foremost, it's fantastic capturing moments in nature, and it's a skill in itself, great composition, to be there, to frame it, to get it in focus, but you're a great photographer, so that's no surprise. We know a lot of birds kind of been nesting, and there's a lot of young around, so there's a nice to have been over the few weeks starting to hear a lot more bird song, and there's been links to that, how that kind of helps kind of with mental health and how we're linked to nature. So I think this is quite a symbolic photograph in that sense, and there's kind of multiple meanings to it as well. As I say, that kind of new life, newly born, is that kind of a reflection of the stages of where we're at with this, going into something new. It's beautiful as well to see a young starling, isn't it? Oh, fantastic. Kath, you took some great photos this week, and there are a couple like this, so I've put two in here, because I think what better way to kind of represent the times than with reflection and mirroring, because it alters perspective, something that we kind of see day to day, and then something that is a reflection of something that we're seeing. So again, that works really well on a few different levels. It's just really well composed. You've got your dividing line right through the middle. So instead of thirds, we've got 2/3 there, which I think works really nicely. Lovely colour and the contrast with the sky, which is nice as well because we've been seeing a lot of sunny days. So I think this is actually, it really brings out, when we've got the duller tones of the sky, it really brings out the greens and the colour in here. I think it's a really nice photo, really nice photo. TC, with the flower, it's beautiful kind of, I don't know whether you've changed the saturation on this, but and is this an orchid? I think it's an orchid. Again, they only bloom for a certain period of time, around about, I actually thought it was September, but and I might be wrong, it might not be an orchid. Anyway, it's not the point. The point is, again, we've got this kind of, this symbolic image of new life, which I think works beautifully, and the detail and the contrast of colour is absolutely stunning. It's a really, really, really beautiful image. Such detail. See the fresh pollen there as well. It's a really, really nice shot, Tony. Nancy. Again, similar to kind of Paul's, I really like this because you've included bits that are really capturing an essence of what we're all feeling, I guess, in this moment of time. We know that you're having to stay at home, so you've got that letter there as well. And again, as Paul had done, and maybe a few others, there's things in here that are kind of really relevant. So with the face masks, the NHS, there's a lot of this support and kind of unification for all that of this country. Everyone's been doing, as I have as well, and enjoying doing jigsaws. So that's a good one. Is this a book? This is quite funny as well. Catastrophe. I wish my home looked like it was all on pets. Really well done. And again, it's something again in that kind of like photo collage that I said. It's picking things to kind of build up this composition, and it worked really well. Last couple, Steph. This was titled "It's Life, Jim, but Not As We Know It." You can kind of tell that this is a street view. We've got the sky, but taken through perforated glass, so it's quite interesting. Again, it's that kind of, when we're thinking about how we're kind of seeing life now, and what that's kind of doing to our interpretation of it. So I think that works really well. And last, Kath had said again about reflection and how well that's working. This one is different. This is in black and white, but it's just as effective. We've now got the main scene in the top third, which is drawing us down, and we've got the lock here, which I felt personally was meant a lot to this image. And the fact that there's maybe nothing cast there as well, is that symbolic of things have gone? Is it a sense of loss? So I think it works. It works again on many levels. So very good shot, Kath. We'll just jump back into the photo pool so you can have a little look. I'll just scroll down a few of these because I think again there's some fantastic ones. Again, a lot with skies, which I think when we're thinking about how to reflect on kind of life, it's always been about kind of we've looked to the stars, we've looked to the heavens, to the skies for guidance, and they offer up, beauty, which offers hope as well. I think so. I think it's a nice thing to be capturing. Strange to see jet streams or streams from the planes. This was a nice one as well, Steph. I like that again because we've got the young out, and maybe it's that comforting thing as well of kind of things like nature. They just kind of get on with life. This was another one, an older one that was in one of the earlier weeks, which kind of works well as a different tint to it. Paul had put an entry from a journal, which I think works really well, of what he's been up to, COVID-19 lockdown. And again, some of the personal things that Paul's been doing and who he is. This is around the psychogeography stuff again. That was the other one of Tony's. These again, looking out as we were doing quite a few weeks ago. It was life looking out through. Very nice. again, some more of Paul's in terms of some of his work and what he's been listening to, and some which I think are nice. They're quite personal. It's kind of a, come in and see my space. This is who I am. This is what I'm into. A nice last one by Tony there. So great job. Remember, keep sharing, keep commenting, and I look forward to seeing your movie posters next week. Take care. Bye.